The Terps get their first Big Ten win.
You are Locked On Terps, your daily podcast on the Maryland Terps. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, everyone? I'm Tre Moore, video content creator for 247 Sports and InsideMarylandSports.com, and host of Locked On Terps, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. So thank you for making us part of your day. And today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 moneyline bet. That's $150 if your team wins. Visit FanDuel.com/locked-on to get started. The Terps get their biggest win of the season in the first win at home in Big Ten play. I'm sorry, guys, that I've been out for the last couple of days. I have been very sick, and I am still recovering a little bit, but I'm super excited to come back and start talking about Maryland. And I couldn't miss today's episode after yesterday's huge win for the Terps. This basketball season has not been the best for us. So when we get a big win like this, a big Big Ten win at home against a Penn State type of team, a team you know we want to beat, and against a Penn State team that might not be the best Big Ten team we will play, but a team that is very solid, had some really good players, put in some really good effort, did some really good things overall. So I couldn't miss another day, and I had to come back today, and I wanted to start talking about this game because what a game it was last night. But this was definitely our biggest win of the season. Let me tell you why. The Terps take down Penn State 81-75 in overtime, like I said, for the first Big Ten win of the year. The Terps showed a lot of fight, starting with the first half. A reason this game was such a huge win, I haven't seen us battle adversity like I've seen us battle in this game, and I think that's huge for the team to be able to see that they're going to be able to do that, for the young guys, for the veterans to know that the younger guys are going to be able to do that, and know that this team overall can battle adversity. If you remember in the first half, we went down early on. It was a bad start. It was looking like more of the same. Maryland trailed 20-9 after the first 10 minutes. I was looking at myself, checking my messages, and everyone was like, wow, we're really going to be doing the same old, the same thing that we saw when we went up to Indiana in that tough atmosphere. I guess we're going to be doing the same thing at home where we're not able to shoot. We shot a terrible percentage to start the game. We shot 28% from the field in the first half. But even though we went down 20-9, the Terps were able to rally. And even though we didn't take the lead in the first half, we went into halftime only down by 2. But it was still a terrible first half by the Terps. 8 first half turnovers, like I said, 28% from the field in the first half. But like I said, we didn't stop. We kept getting a little bit better. We kept starting to find shots here or there. Jahmir Young kept making plays. Julian and Reese found ways to make plays. We found a way to stay in the game and to keep it within 2 to make it in exactly where we wanted to be. After a bad start, after a bad first half, we were still very much in the game, and give credit to the Terps. That's why I think this is a huge win for the Terps. Of course, because it's the first Big Ten win, and I'll talk about that in a second and how much we need those type of games. But it also was a chance for us to battle adversity. And there was more adversity that we battled in this game. But starting with, we went down early in the second half or in the first half, and we still were able to stick together as a team and still able to win. I didn't see anyone blaming anyone. I didn't see anyone flinch. I didn't see bad emotions. I didn't see that. I saw good body language, and I saw us turn it around. So give credit to Kevin Willard this game. Give credit to the whole team this game, because what a great turnaround it was. But this game was extremely important in terms of where we stand right now on the season, we know we're only 4-4 before this game, only 500, which at this point in the season, when you play mostly non-conference teams, you really don't want to have 4 losses already. You want to be more at like 1 or 2 losses on the season, maybe. But of course, we were 4-4 going into this game, 0-1 in the Big Ten after that terrible loss we took on Friday night against Indiana. But we stepped up and we got a huge Big Ten win that we needed so desperately, so badly. Why do we need to start accumulating these wins? Because if we want any chance at March Madness later on, if we want any chance in the tournament later on, we got to start building a resume. And after that horrible start that we had, it's going to be really tough to build a good enough resume to make it into the tournament. But it starts with Big Ten wins at home. We win at home, and that's part of why this game is so huge. Getting a Big Ten win, getting the 101 in the Big Ten, you got to keep getting these Big Ten wins if you want any chance to make it in March. And that's exactly what the Terps did last night. They were able to get a Big Ten win, and that's exactly what we did. We were able to get a Big Ten win. We were able to overcome some adversity in the first half, going down 20-9, 8 first half turnovers, trailing the entire first half, and still being only down 2 after the first half. So those are 2 things right there that I think make it a huge win for the Terps, because we needed a win against a Power 5 Big Ten type of team, because we don't have that win yet. We haven't beaten anyone that would be like an opponent that we look at that's like, good job beating them, or that's a solid win. And Penn State is no mean one of the best teams in the Big Ten, but they're a very solid, very good team. They had some really good players, especially Kanye Clary and Ace Baldwin, 2 really good players that dropped 16 and 25. Ace had 16, Clary had 25. 2 very good players that were very hard to stop. So give credit to Penn State. So we got to win against a good opponent, a Big Ten opponent, and wins that we absolutely need. And these are the games that we usually haven't won this year. When we've gone down early or started the game bad, or had a poor streak, or it's a close game, similar to UAB, similar to Davidson. You could throw Villanova in there. We haven't shown the ability to win that type of game, and we won that type of game tonight. That's also another reason why I think this was a huge win for us. Figuring out a way to win games with this group is going to be a big deal. And figuring out their first Big Ten win, I think, especially with some of the youth players that we have, like Kaiser and DeShawn Harris-Smith, that are in the lineup making plays, that are playing a lot of minutes, those guys have to figure out how to win in the Big Ten, and they're starting to do that. That's why this game was so huge. Anytime you get your first Big Ten win, your first home Big Ten win of the season, it's absolutely huge. And another point I have to make is we were able to overcome a horrible play, a horrible mismanagement at the end of the game. I know you guys all know what I'm talking about. When we were up by 2 with about 4 seconds left, and Penn State has the ball, and Penn State has to go the length of the floor to find a way, and Jahari Long fouls the guy before he's able to catch the ball to try and steal it. It's a mental error. I don't want to fault Jahari Long too much for that play. It might be a different conversation if we didn't end up winning the game, but we ended up winning the game, so I'm not going to fault him too much. I'm not going to get mad at him too much overall for that type of play, because he wasn't in the game before that. They put him in the game because they want that type of veteran and they trusted him in that situation. But he tried to make a play. At least he tried to make a play hard, and he committed the foul, and that caused the Terps to go to overtime. But the Terps didn't lay down and die. This is another part of the adversity that the Terps went through during this game. That's the type of turnover or the type of play you make and the type of foul you commit. And when you have to go to overtime after, it's really hard to mentally flip the switch when a couple minutes ago you felt we're going to win the game unless some type of miracle happens, unless they hit some type of crazy shot. We're going to win that. We're going to win the game. So you have to flip a notch mentally to where it's a whole new game, a 5-minute game in overtime where if you want to win the game, you have to go out there and perform, no matter if you were supposed to win that game or not. And the Terps were able to do that. We played really well in overtime. We clearly outplayed Penn State in overtime. So the Terps really won twice. They won I thought they were going to win at the end of regulation. Of course, we didn't exactly win it, but then we went again and won in overtime and kind of dominated that overtime period. So for the Terps to battle that type of adversity, the first half adversity, and to battle that foul by Jahari Long and mentally stay sharp and stay ready to win a game, great. It's an awesome win for the Terps. And for it to be the first Big Ten win of the season, it's an amazing accomplishment. It's an amazing thing for us to do in a tough spot in our season so far. Seems like everything was going wrong so far, but the Terps were able to flip a switch and to do something right and to win a game that we really needed to win, because dropping 0-2 in Big Ten play and losing a game at home, which we know we can't really do, it would have been tough, but the Terps stayed tough and were able to win that type of game. And that's why I think it's a huge win for the Maryland Terrapins to take down that Penn State team. Jahmir Young and Julian Reese, wow, what performances they had. We'll talk about that after this ad from FanDuel. As the weather gets colder, the NFL offers stay hot on FanDuel. Right now, new customers get $150 of bonus bets with any winning $5 moneyline bet. That's $150 if your team wins. If you've been thinking about joining FanDuel, there's no better time to get in on the action. The app is easy to use. There's a wide range of betting options, including spreads, player props, over-unders, and more. So visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and kick off the NFL season. FanDuel, the official partner of the NFL. Jahmir Young and Julian Reese are a top duo in all of college basketball. Yes, I think these two are one of the best duos, not only just in the Big Ten. I think they're one of the best duos in college basketball. We kind of knew that coming into the season. They were on many lists, preseason All Big Ten. They were on top 100 players in college basketball. These two were on it. And I'm here to say that watching that performance last night against Penn State, what both of those guys did, they're a top duo in all of college basketball, definitely in the Big Ten. But in all of college basketball, you cannot tell me these two aren't a top duo. And the way that they played, they carried our team last night. Without these guys, I don't know where we are right now as a program. But those two guys carried this team last night in terms of scoring, in terms of rebounding, in terms of playmaking, in terms of basically everything you think of. We could not have won this game without them. I don't know if we would have won any of our games so far this season without these two guys. But let's start with Jahmir Young. Penn State could not cover this guy. Jahmir Young, 28 points, only 2 points away from 38 rebounds for Jahmir Young. He's an underrated rebounding guard. He's not very tall, probably about 6'1", but Jahmir Young can go up and rebound. Jahmir Young had 28 points, like I said, 8 rebounds and 3 assists. He went 12 of 12 from the free throw line and had the game high with 28 points. Jahmir Young did some things against his Penn State team. The way I saw him play, Jahmir Young looked like a top player in the Big Ten for sure. This guy even looks better than last year. Jahmir Young is on a whole new level. He's really unguardable. You have to have a specific game plan to stop him, but Jahmir Young looks really good. And then Julian Reese had a similar type of day with 24 points, 7-11 from the field, and 15 rebounds and 6 offensive rebounds and 2 assists. 2 assists. Julian Reese, the energy that he had, of course the points are one thing, but the energy that he had with the rebounding, with the 6 offensive rebounds, we don't win that game without the offensive rebounds that we had in that game. We clearly out-rebounded that Penn State team. We brought more energy. I thought we had more hustle in us a lot of the game. And don't get me wrong, the Penn State team played very hard. It was a physical game. The commentators kept on talking about it. It wasn't the most pretty game in terms of offense for a lot of the game. It wasn't that type of game. It was a hard-nosed, tough, get on the ground, pushing, shoving, Big Ten type of basketball game. Just like when you think of Big Ten football, you think of running the ball, you think of physicality. That was the type of game it was on the basketball court. It almost felt like a football game a lot of the game. It was a tough game, and Julian Reese might have been the toughest guy out there. Those 6 offensive rebounds, those 15 rebounds he had to make it a double-double, so big for the Terps. Also had 24 points, of course, which was huge for Maryland because we know how much we lack scoring ability outside of those two. But those two combined for 52 points. 52 points between 2 players for Maryland is what they need. That lack of scoring that we have a lot of the time, where we don't have a lot of guys that can go get a bucket besides Julian Reese and Jahmir Young, those are our 2 main guys. And it's hard in college basketball to find guys that can score the ball as much as you may want a guy to score the ball, because even though there's so many good basketball players, so many solid basketball players, it's really hard to find a guy that can get 22 points a game like both of these guys can do, like they just prove that they can do. It's really hard to get that type of production out of anybody. And the Terps struggle with that. The Terps struggle with scoring. We know we only dropped 40 against Villanova, only had 15 first half points against Villanova. We struggled against UAB and Davidson. We've struggled this year in scoring. So when your top 2 players combine for 52 points, it goes a long way in helping the team win. If other players can just kind of chip in, do a little bit here, do a little bit there, and just let these guys do their thing, we'll be okay. We'll definitely be okay. But dropping 52 points doesn't happen for a duo in college basketball. That's not something that just happens on the daily. It's not something that happens very much where 2 guys have about 26 points. And that's part of why I think they're one of the best duos in college basketball. I do want to go back to my take. The fact that the way Julian Reese can rebound, the way he can score, the way he can play defense and protect the rim a lot of the times, and the way Jahmir Young plays as a point guard, having that big man guard duo where Jahmir Young's dropping 28, almost 30 points, that's what makes me think that they're a top duo in all of college basketball. In Big Ten play, at home, you have to have the game, and these 2 guys perform at the highest level because the other guys on our team didn't have their best day. Dante Scott and Jordan Geronimo only had 4 points each. So if it wasn't going to be these 2 guys, we just don't win this game. If they combine for 40 and each have 20, we don't win this game, which is crazy to say. We needed all the 52. Remember, this game went to overtime, even though maybe it shouldn't have. We should have maybe won by 2 points. But even still, we still would have needed every single one of their points. So we needed all their production. And Maryland only shot 20% from the 3-point line this game, which isn't really that abnormal. That's kind of what we've been doing. So we needed their scoring. We needed their 52 because we weren't going to shoot the 3 ball well. Geronimo and Scott couldn't score, but I definitely think this is one of the best duos in college basketball. I think these are both guys that are going to be all Big Ten at the end of it. And right now, a huge part of any success that we have had this season, any of the wins that we've had this season, any highlights that we've had this season, it's been because of these 2 guys. And I really do think they're one of the best duos in all of college basketball, and I hope they continue to play like they did last night. I keep wanting to say tonight, but like they played last night against the Penn State Nittany Lions. Let's talk about how the freshmen played. Maybe a little freshman breakout. I'll tell you about that after this ad from Prize Picks. Testing my skills on Prize Picks this football season is the most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. If you have the skills, you could turn $10 into $250 with just a few taps. Prize Picks is the largest independently owned daily fantasy sports platform in North America. We're the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. It's just you against the numbers. Instead of battling thousands of other players, including pros and sharks, you pick more than or less than on 2 to 6 player stat projections and watch the winnings roll in. Go to prizepicks.com/lockedoncollege and use code LOCKEDONCollege for a first-time deposit. Maryland freshmen looked a lot more comfortable last night against Penn State. Jamie Kaiser and DeShawn Harris-Smith played a great, solid game and looked like they may have found their confidence. Coach said, we have to be patient with these guys. They're really talented, and they showed it tonight. And let's start with Kaiser. I think it was Kaiser's best game of his college career, for sure. Kaiser looked like he knew his role. He knew exactly what he needed to do out there. He knew exactly how to make an impact. He found his shot. He made 2 threes in the game. He had 10 points. 10 points is exactly what we need from Kaiser coming off the bench. We need a couple of made threes and a couple of other baskets. He was able to get to the free throw line, go 4 for 4 from there, including a huge drive late in the game where he got to the free throw line. But Kaiser was in the game late. Even though he's not a starter, he was in the game late, which shows me all I need to know. The coaches trusted him with the game on the line, and he looked comfortable out there. He looked like he kind of found his rhythm, kind of found his spot, and it takes a little bit for these guys to be able to find that sometimes as freshmen. But like I said, had 10 points, 2 key threes in the game, and really got it going. And he'll look to continue that kind of streak, and I can see him starting eventually. I mean, I do like him off the bench because I don't think we have a ton of production off the bench. I could see him starting, but I could see him staying coming off the bench because I do think Kevin Willard likes his production coming off the bench. But a great game from Jamie Kaiser overall. He looks comfortable. He looks like he's going to get things going. DeShawn Harris-Smith, it wasn't like a standout stat line for him, but I do think it was one of his better games with 7 points because he made the plays when we needed him to make play. That and one down the stretch in overtime. Huge play for the Terps. Had me absolutely hype on the drive in the cut. Jahmir Young delivered a nice pass. DeShawn Harris-Smith made an awesome play to get behind the defense in the zone, and then that and one and that body control. Great play by DeShawn Harris-Smith. He also looked a lot more comfortable in that game because in other games, he's still looking for a shot, and he didn't shoot the ball amazing. He missed the only 3 he took. Shot 3 for 5 from the line. Still things need to be improved, but he wasn't trying to force things as much, it felt like. He wasn't taking as many bad drives where they were drives that he probably should have kicked out. He kind of let the game – I thought both freshmen let the game come to them, which is extremely important when playing at this high of a level. You can't force it. You kind of have to let the game come to you until you really figure out how to make plays for yourself like a Jahmir Young can. Jahmir Young can kind of force it and kind of make plays himself. But guys like DeShawn Harris-Smith and Jamie Kaiser, you're still figuring it out. Let the game come to you, and that's exactly what they did. But a very solid performance from both of them, and we wouldn't have won that game without them. I thought they were the next 2 best players after Julian Reese and Jahmir Young. I thought DeShawn Harris-Smith and Jamie Kaiser were the next best 2 players last night. Even though Dante Scott had a big basket and George Geronimo also scored some, but I thought those 2 players played their best combined game and definitely helped the Terps win that game. We don't win that game without them. So a great game from them. Thank you for listening to Locked on Terps. I apologize for still being sick and my voice being a little bit messed up still, but please like and subscribe. We're here every day talking Maryland football and basketball. But thank you for listening to Locked on Terps.